Hello and thanks for tuning into KPC News. I'm James Buckley.
And I'm Hannah Thurman.
This week, Brett Kavanaugh began his Supreme Court confirmation hearings, but was met with heavy protests. Before we get to that, Hannah has a story on a historic Massachusetts election.
A Boston City Council member won the Democratic primary for Massachusetts' 7th congressional district on Tuesday. Ayanna Pressley defeated 10-term incumbent Representative Michael Capuano in the primary upset. CBS News said that Pressley was the first African-American woman elected to Boston City Council in 2009. Massachusetts' 7th congressional district is the only one in the state that has more non-whites than whites. Pressley will likely be the first black woman to serve Massachusetts in Congress. There are no Republican candidates in this race.
Wow, 10-time incumbent. That is impressive.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Now, moving on into presidential news, in his latest Twitter attack, President Trump went after Attorney General Jeff Sessions once again. Trump's tweets talked about how Sessions should have waited to indict Representatives Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter until after their elections in November. Collins was indicted on insider trading, and Hunter is guilty of misusing campaign funds. According to Vox, it is customary for the Justice Department to wait on publicly announcing a candidate's indictment if it is within 60 days of an election, which both representatives qualify for. However, this is only a custom and not a law or regulation. The tweets from Trump drew criticism from both sides, but no action has been taken yet.
A new book written by Watergate reporter Bob Woodward is creating lots of discussion. Fear Trump in the White House is 448 pages. CNN says that it gives an unprecedented look into the White House, and top officials offered their disdain for Trump's temperament, intellect, and character. Woodward said he had hundreds of hours of interviews that spanned out for this book. Chief of Staff John Kelly was quoted saying that Trump is an idiot. He has since released a statement saying he never made those comments. Secretary of Defense James Mattis is also quoted in the book. He also released a statement saying that he never said the things that he was quoted in. A 5th or 6th grader is one of the quotes. Jeff Sessions, Chief Economic Advisor Gary Cohn, and Trump's former personal lawyer John Dowd are also mentioned in the book. President Trump has called the book boring and untrue. The book will be available for purchase on September 11th.
In wake of John McCain's death, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey appointed former Arizona Senator Jon Kyl to replace McCain. Kyl will serve as senator until 2020, which is when a special election to fill McCain's seat will occur. Ducey told the press that he chose Kyl because of his reputation in Arizona and prior experience with the Senate. Kyl said he would serve until 2020 but will not run for re-election in order to spend more time with his family.
This Friday marks the 25th anniversary of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's oath to the court, and she doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. CNN says that she recently said she hopes to stay on the court for at least 5 more years. Ginsburg was a women's rights lawyer and was on a federal appeals court until she was confirmed to the Supreme Court in 1993. She has since been a voice against sex discrimination in the court and has recounted her own experiences with the Me Too movement. CNN co-produced a documentary called RBG that has made $13.5 million at the box office so far. It'll broadcast next month on the network for the general public, which I will for sure be watching because she's my favorite person in the world.
RBG forever. And on Tuesday, Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh began his confirmation hearings with the Senate Judiciary Committee. All was well for 30 seconds until protesters took over the Senate floor. Shortly after the protesters were silenced, California Senator Kamala Harris interrupted the proceedings by asking to delay the hearings until the committee could review the 42,000 documents about Kavanaugh that were released on Monday. The request was denied and the hearings continued. However, after all the commotion, Republicans are still confident that Kavanaugh will be appointed. Hannah has more on the protests from Monday and new protesters from today's hearing.
70 people were arrested Tuesday at the first of the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, and the U.S. News and World Report says that some protesters wore shirts that said, "I am what's at stake," and some shouted that the senators need to do their job and stop the hearing. There is only room for 20 public members to sit in on the hearing in the back of the courtroom. Once visitors are removed due to shouting, another visitor takes their place. The Capitol Police cannot close the courtroom to the public. Protesters include people from activist groups for abortion rights, gun control organizations, and labor unions who fear Kavanaugh could alter the balance for years on these issues. Today, he has been asked about Roe v. Wade, executive power, and when asked about presidential loyalty, Kavanaugh responded by saying that loyalty is to the Constitution, not the president.
Now, according to the KC Star, the National Republican Congressional Committee is putting up $1.8 million to 2 Kansas congressional campaigns. The committee is supporting Kevin Yoder in the 3rd District and Steve Watkins in the 2nd. The committee plans to use the money to purchase ad space starting October 9th and running through Election Day. The ads will run in Topeka and Lawrence for the 2nd District and Kansas City suburbs for the 3rd District. The committee hopes the extra ads will secure Yoder and Watkins' spots, who have been neck and neck in the polls with their Democratic counterparts. Well, it looks like we'll be seeing plenty more political ads. We can't even escape from the midterms.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, that's all that we have for you this week. Thank you for watching KPC News, and be sure to tune in next week. Until then, I'm Hannah Thurman.
And I'm James Buckley.
We'll see you next week.